Okay, I'm speaking to Farhana Yamin from the GCCA, who's an expert on all things legal in the UN climate talks. And so far we've had 2 days of negotiations here at Durban. Can you just give a broad overview as to where the discussions and negotiations on a legal form of a future climate regime are up to?
Well, that's one of the big issues that Copenhagen and Cancun were not able to reach agreement on. So we're quite far behind in terms of where the political negotiations need to conclude. The science is already very, very clear that urgent action needs to be done and that the existing pledges are way too weak, both in their content as well as in their legal form itself. Promises are not as good as contracts. As we all know in real life, we tend to prefer contracts to promises when it comes to dealing with anything other than family members, perhaps. So the Kyoto negotiations were supposed to result in a second commitment period. The negotiations started in 2005 in Canada, of all places, which was a very momentous occasion in the Montreal meeting. But they've stalled essentially for the last 5 or 6 years. And Durban really has to give a very clear concluding signal on the Kyoto architecture and build on that outwards. The big issue here, which discussions have got underway and there is progress behind the scenes, is the issue of really what a new legal agreement under the convention, which would capture countries like the US that has not had any legal commitments at all since 1992. It would cover the countries like the US and also additional actions for larger developing countries. And the big issue here is really about, are the big developing countries going to have the same character of legal commitments, the same kind of legal commitments, the question of legal parity as it were, or will they have a more tailor-made specific regime that is suited to their needs?
Great, we've heard a lot of talk about keeping the Kyoto Protocol alive in the first 2 days. We had the slightly destabilising news that Canada was officially not signing up to a second commitment period. What do you think will happen in terms of the future of the Kyoto Protocol here at Durban?
Well, Canada had already made clear its intent that it would not be abiding by its Kyoto target. So in a way it's helpful that it's come clean and has openly said, at least hasn't submitted its withdrawal notice at this point in time. What is more destabilising is the idea that they may be lobbying other parties to the Kyoto Protocol to not continue their efforts to come to an agreement on that, and I hope that's not the case at this moment in time. What happens with Canada, we'll have to wait and see if they do submit their notice of withdrawal under Article 27 as to how they take that forward.
Okay, one last question. Given the urgency that we have to act on climate change, what ideally should happen here at Durban around the legal form of the future climate change regime?
Well, all countries need to step up. It's not just one set or another. All of them need to step up if we're to reach the 2 degree, let alone the 1.5 degree target and keep that in sight. I think that developing countries really, a lot of the success of Durban does rest on their shoulders to reach out to countries that are now willing to continue with Kyoto. That's mainly the EU, and there should be really a concerted effort to bring a deal which captures the vast majority of parties who want progress made on both the Kyoto track as well as the convention track. And so what would be ideal is for a continuation of Kyoto and a mandate or a roadmap on the other side to conclude a legal deal that brings everybody into the same legal world.
Great, well thanks so much for your time and good luck for the next couple of weeks.
Thank you.